Today on the Toots podcast, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stories. We have a story about a man who decided to run on the field, and he and he met with one heck of a wake up call. We're gonna You're gonna want to hear what happened there. We also have stories from Ukraine and Russia. Apparently, Elon Musk is getting involved, and apparently Elon Musk is getting involved in the PayPal stuff. So lots of stuff going on there. Madonna is also in the news, and you're gonna hate what she's in the news for. But thankfully, Kanye is also on there, and he's standing strong. And surprisingly, he's actually saying some pretty decent things. You're gonna want to hear what he has to say. And finally, speaking of also some people saying some good things, Daniel Smith is actually bringing Christmas early and giving us one of our Christmas wishes. So we're going to talk about that and so much more today on the Shrewd Dudes podcast.
All right. It's that day again. It is Tuesday Newsday, and we are back after the long weekend of Canadian Thanksgiving.
That's right. Ooh, very Canadian.
Of family fun and revelry and disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But how was your Thanksgiving weekend, Danny?
No. Very epic and dramatic.
Dramatic.
It was by far the biggest. How do I put this? Like imagine if you threw like the holy hand grenade in the middle of like the weekend and went like smithereen. Basically, Stephen and I are now looking for a new church because our old church had some issues, which is the easiest way to put it.
Yep.
Yeah. So
disagreements of inherent parts of theology and faith.
And so dealing with some
internal conflicts.
Internal conflicts. It's isn't church politics always wonderful experience, Stephen? It just really gets you here. The Holy Spirit really kind of talks to you. It's great,
convicting.
Yeah, but thankfully there were some good things. I got to play some bowling with some friends, which I haven't done in a while, and had a very surprisingly delicious Thanksgiving dinner with my mom at of all places, Swiss Chalet, which actually has a legitimate.
I've heard of this
dinner. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I felt like I was actually sitting down to a real Thanksgiving dinner. So
solid.
It was pretty good. What about you, man?
Well, Saturday I was expecting to have something Thanksgiving-y with my mother's side of the family, but that didn't pan out.
Ooh.
Well, it was just coordination issues.
Yeah.
So we went to the zoo instead, which was all right.
Sounds fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Sunday after church, then we had Thanksgiving dinner with my in-laws, my wife's parents. And that was hot and stuffy because we had like 9 adults and like 11 kids.
And the place is not air conditioned.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was the house is air conditioned, but they won't take the air conditioning out of the bedroom.
Oh.
And I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
like put it in the living room where everybody is.
You shall suffer.
Yeah, and so I was just like,
you have to earn your thanks.
I'm literally dripping in sweat, and this is awful. So we're like, let's go to the park. Yes, let's go to the park. But the food was good. The food was good because my sister-in-law made it, and not my mother-in-law. So I had all the things that my wife made and my sister-in-law made. So
yeah, they're good cooks.
Mm-hmm. And everything else I avoided like the plague. And then yesterday I went to
kale. No, thank you.
Oh no, it's just like boiled squash with no seasoning whatsoever. I'm like, nope, not having it.
Shark fin soup. You shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have. Really, no, you should not have. Go away.
No, really bad. This goes straight out.
So then I went to my aunt's house yesterday for our family, my parents' sides of the family. Thanksgiving. Did not have turkey, because, well, my grandmother we had to take her out of the hospital for Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay.
Because she fell and broke her hip a few weeks ago. And my aunt just finished her like rounds of chemo.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, we don't want to put that pressure on you to make a turkey.
Let's scale it back a bit.
Yep, scale it back a bit. So we had a beef brisket.
Ooh, seriously?
I know, it's like
we could have turkey, so
let's make brisket.
It's like, oh, nuts.
Nuts. Brisket.
Darn it. I'm really legitimately disappointed.
Yeah, beef brisket, homemade mac and cheese, and like other normal.
You can eat.
No, we didn't have yeah, we did. We did have mashed potatoes.
I was gonna say, if there's one way to ruin Thanksgiving.
Did we? No, we didn't.
Wow.
We didn't have mashed potatoes.
Wow.
We had mashed potatoes on Sunday, but we did not have them on Monday.
Sad.
And then my cousins were like, "Steven, play poker with us," and I'm like, "Okay." And they're like,
"How bad you want to lose?
Do you know how to play poker?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We don't really know how to play poker," and I'm like,
"How much money you got?"
Well, we weren't playing for money, but like I had 80% of the chips by round 2. I'm like, okay, no one else is even in this.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of bled them dry.
You're out of your league. You're out of your league, boys.
Yep. And then we kept like changing up the methodology. So we didn't stick to one. The dealer picked whatever like style we played. We played like 5-card draw and Texas Hold'em and like 9-card stud. And I'm like, okay, sure.
You're all over the place, man.
We were all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I still won.
Yeah, showing off here, Mr. Fan.
Well, I was like,
face.
I love my cousins, but I'm like, you should know how to do math better than this. And my cousin, it's just like, you have a math test tomorrow, don't you? And it's like, yep. Are you prepared for that math test? Nope. Then stop playing poker.
That explains a lot.
He's like, I'm learning math through poker, and I'm like, not well enough. I'm still smoking you.
Go easy on him, man. Come on.
Yeah,
it's Thanksgiving. You gotta go easy on him.
Thanksgiving. Talking about smoking, let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Animal rights activist tackled by LA Rams Bobby Wagner. Suffered a concussion, police say, after the field invader filed a report for blatant assault. Shut up.
Oh, poor Muffin. Oh, I ran onto a football field and I got tackled by people. I did not expect.
And of course, thankfully, Wagner and McKinley, the two players, were not charged with any crime. Good for them.
Of course not.
Yeah. So Alexander Taylor was a part of the group Direct Action Everywhere, approached Santa Clara Police Department at 1:45 on October 4th, the day after the incident, to file a police report. He told cops that he endured several injuries while he was running shirtless across the field with a smoke bomb. The tackle came with a bit left on the clock, and the Rams found themselves down 16-14 to the 49ers. Let's watch.
I don't know. I literally think the Rams won that game. I do.
Did he tear his ACL?
There he goes.
Ready? I'm coming. Boom!
Boom! Take him down.
You got taken down.
But the funny thing about that is that, he was clearly he's a fast runner. I think I think he's just a little bit he's a little sad that his little demonstration was cut short.
Didn't go anywhere.
He was counting on being able to outrun the security, but he did not count on being tackled by actual football players. I'm like, dang, son.
Wagner stated after the game that he had safety in mind when he made the decision.
Oh, give me a freaking break. You know what? Okay, you know what it's like? It's like if somebody runs into a farm that's private property and runs in there and gets taken out by the bull. I'm like, yeah, I have zero sympathy for you, bro. You've basically given up your right to safety when you
No. You're not understanding. It was the player that said he had safety in mind. And this is how he clarified. You see it all the time. We don't know what they're carrying in their pockets, whatever that little smoke stuff is, but that crap could be dangerous. And I'm like, okay, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, that face. Smack.
That boy got taken down hard.
Yeah, this is that guy after he got
Oh,
hit.
you look at him so proud. He's so proud of
He's
himself.
like, look at me.
Oh, look at me. I'm special.
Showing their
I'm
citations.
entitled.
Yeah.
I'm a hero.
No,
Yeah,
you're not.
I'm sure you are. Yeah. You're no more a hero than those idiots who run on a baseball field or like a game, or people who run on a football field. What happened?
So like the Super Bowl winner also said one of the guys on the other side looked like he got hurt, and security looked like he was struggling. So I was frustrated, so I took it out on him. That's funny.
Oh, boy.
And it's to draw attention to the ongoing trial of two members of Direct Action, where they are accused of stealing pigs. Yep, because that's what you want to support.
Oh, straight to
theft.
Jail. You steal pigs, you straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
Like, straight to jail.
Yep.
You run on a field with smoke. Oh, that's straight to jail.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I hate to say it, environmental and animal rights activists are some of the most some of the most infuriating activists.
little whiny prats.
Well, because okay, so you see the environmental guys, they're the ones that they basically sit on a highway and they sit there with the little banners being like, we're fighting for planet Earth, and people are like, we can't get to work, we can't get to where we need to go. You're causing mass chaos.
We're saving the planet.
We're saving the planet.
No, you're literally the one. Do you remember the one that was in Edmonton a couple years back, where they handcuffed themselves to each other and shut down the main entrance to downtown Edmonton, and they shut it down for 3 hours in minus 15 to 20. Yep, and so it's just you're shutting it down, and you're forcing everyone to run their cars to keep warm.
You've just made them pollution worse.
You're making the pollution worse because everyone has to stay warm and burn fossil fuels.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that one guy in? I think this was in Paris. I could be wrong. Somewhere in Europe. But these environmental guys, they go on top of a train, a subway train, and they basically stand there protesting, be like, "Oh, we need to protest this," and the people there were pissed off. And so finally, some guys get on top of it, and they actually chase them down. They're like, "Oh no, this backfired horribly!" They're like, "No, don't do nothing." And they shoves him off into the waiting arms of the crowd, who all basically then went on to beat that living crap out of them. And I was like, "Yeah, they kind of deserve that."
Yep.
Because they're literally holding up thousands of people. Not just there, but every single station, because this train can't move. And so you're basically inconveniencing thousands and thousands of people because you are too much of a, inconsiderate, jerk to think about the actions that you're doing. This is why I can't stand these people. And the animal rights people are just as bad. You see those ones standing in front of the milk whatever at a store. They're like, "You can't have milk because we don't like milk." I'm like, excuse me, I'll just step over here. Oh, was that my elbow? Oh, sorry about that. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it fart. My bad. What can I do?
What can I do?
Can I do except I need another card, and actually I'm just gonna step on your. Sorry about that.
Well, that's sort of how I feel about this whole Russia-Ukraine war. It's just when asking Putin at it, it's what could I do except invade Ukraine and threaten nuclear war?
Yeah, that works.
Yep. So Vladimir Putin told Elon Musk he was prepared to use nuclear weapons, or he is prepared to use nuclear weapons, to defend annexed regions of Ukraine. When billionaire Tesla founder 51 spoke privately with him in a bid to act as peacemaker. The world's richest man is said to have spoken privately with Putin in recent weeks. Putin also reported that he was prepared to negotiate if he could keep Crimea. Do that.
Yes.
Do that. Come on. Volodymyr Zelensky, stop being a douche, because you were the douche of the week last week, but grow up and accept your losses like a man. Yeah. Stop being a corrupt, narcissistic dictator who wants nuclear war and for millions to die. And just say, yep, okay, the annexed regions are yours, but the rest of us are going to join NATO.
Yep.
So
it's crazy right now because like we've said before, one of the things that that's really becoming obvious. Before it was like Ukraine is no like they don't have a claim. We always knew that for a long time. Ukraine is has some serious problems with corruption, with a lot of like really like problematic politicians and groups there as well. But right now the big problem is that the rest of the Western world is basically almost like cheering, if not ultimately like putting fuel on the fire that will might ultimately lead to to a nuclear war. And this is what's really problematic is that this can be like actually de-escalated, but the rest of the world is escalating. They're not de-escalating, and this is a very preventable problem. You could actually negotiate a peace deal, but nobody wants to, except Elon Musk and Donald Trump, who keeps asking, "Hey, I will negotiate a peace deal.
I will negotiate something between you two. Come on, let's do this."
Yeah. So if Trump was president right now, not only would they never have had a war to begin with, but even if they had, Trump would be like on right there negotiating a peace deal.
Okay, and I'm switching up the next story actually.
Oh, okay.
So just switching the next two.
Okay.
Because Trump would have negotiated a peace deal, but you know who else would have negotiated a peace deal? Probably Tulsi.
Oh, you think so?
Well, Tulsi announced that she is leaving the Democratic Party, calling it an elitist cabal of warmongers.
What?
So former Hawaii rep.
How can I tell you?
Well, not that video. Not that. Announced she is leaving the Democratic Party, denouncing it as legal elitist cabal of warmongers, while calling upon other common sense, independent-minded Democrats to exit with her. Quote, "I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that is now under the complete control of the warmongers, driven by cowardly wokeness who divided us by racializing every issue and stoke anti-white racism, actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms, are hostile people of faith and spirituality, demonize the police and protect criminals, the expense of law-abiding Americans, believe in open borders, weaponize the national security state to go after political opponents, and above all, dragging us ever closer to nuclear war."
She's only got a few problems with them. Just
a few. Only a few problems, but in this, in terms of this statement, 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I wish that she had done this in 2020 instead of now when it's it's good that it's happening right before the midterms.
Yeah.
But it's you could have done this earlier and you still supported Biden in 2020. So you get props for now, but you knew these problems were there. You kind of ignored them, Tulsi.
Yeah, she's not right now. She's not in Congress, right? Because she was trying. No,
she's a representative.
I thought she wasn't, because it says right here, Gabbard above the picture of her. Gabbard represented Hawaii.
Oh no, she represented until last year,
2013 to 2021, as Democrat, and in 2020, she mounted an unsuccessful bid for the party's presidential nomination. But I know that she hasn't been an official representative for a while, but she's still popular right now.
Yeah. Well, now she's starting the Tulsi Gabbard show.
That's cool.
The first upload was a 28-minute episode titled "Why I'm Leaving the Democratic Party." Yep. So that's
not a win for the right, because Tulsi Gabbard is legitimately a decent.
She's one of the only voices on the Democratic Party, which I was kind of you're fairly reasonable.
Actually, I loved her takedown of Kamala Harris.
Oh, it was wonderful.
The debate was one of the most amazing parts of that entire thing.
Yep.
Just ripped her up.
Oh, just tore her a new one. It was just
was so great.
You did that. Oh.
And everybody knew. Kamala knew. She's like, yeah, I lost. She just basically completely and totally annihilated me.
Yeah. But then she appealed to the establishment, because she continues to sleep her way to the top.
Well, I mean, she called, Biden horribly racist, and then she's like, okay, cool, I'll be a vice president.
I'll be a vice president because I'm a black woman.
Yeah, this works.
Totally. Totally works.
Speaking of, what's that thing called where you got a job based on your outward characteristics? Affirmative action.
Affirmative action, yes.
She basically got in the White House only because of affirmative action.
Well, the
Not because
Democrats
she's
are all about pushing affirmative action. Affirmative action for the vice president, affirmative action for universities, affirmative action for the Supreme Court justices. Everybody gets affirmative action, which means whites get
Hey!
nothing.
whites, you out, bro.
Yep. It's reparations.
Yeah.
But speaking of a group trying to enforce a reparations style movement, let's talk about PayPal.
Oh, PayPal kind of got burned this week.
Yeah, get your money out right now. Elon Musk and PayPal Mafia lead insanity backlash against shock blunder. That's the best thing to ever happen to Bitcoin and crypto. Internet payments pioneer, co-founded by Tesla billionaire Elon Musk, dropped a huge backlash yesterday with a shock new policy that was quickly reversed. This was as of Sunday.
Yeah.
The company, after helping to jumpstart last year's huge crypto bull run with its support for Bitcoin and a handful of other cryptos, has scrapped a policy change that would have seen users fined by up to $2,500 for spreading what it called misinformation, claiming the update had gone out in error. No, people just discovered it.
Mm-hmm.
The reverser followed a flood of accusations from former management and regulators that branded the policy insane, Orwellian, I'm supposed to have an R, and the best thing that has happened for the adoption of Bitcoin and crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's totally true. Because, oh my gosh, if PayPal is willing to say, oh, like you're spreading misinformation, there's a $2,500 fine, which we're not going to tell you about. We're just going to withdraw it from your account without your knowledge and without your say-so.
It's very similar to what happened to the banks here in Canada
during the freedom rallies and the trucker rally.
And there was a massive rush or run on so many major banks, and they had
to change their policies instantaneously.
They were like, "Oh dang!"
They're like, "Oh, we're losing thousands of customers. This is bad. Yeah. We should not have done that."
When I went into like the actual bank that I took my money out of, the lady was like, she's like, out of curiosity, like, do you know why? Like, she's like, you're like the 15th person that's come in today, like getting all their money out. I'm like, oh, you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Like, yeah, something big happened. You know, like, because she's like, she actually knew like this was happening across Canada. Yeah, something going on. I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm like, yeah, you
don't know.
That's right.
You don't know, girl.
You don't know what you don't know. It's bad, girl. It's bad. We better run for the hills.
Run for the hills.
For that Justin Trudeau, Mr. Fidel Jr. comes after you.
Fidel Jr. coming for you.
That's right.
Yep.
But yeah, so like that's what's happening in the financial world and the craziness going on there. But
that's
we're
not
back
the end of the insanity.
We're back into an old school kind of story, which is cops potentially shooting, like, innocent people. Let's see what came out of this story.
So, former Texas cop charged over shooting of teen outside McDonald's. Former Texas police officer was charged Tuesday, more than a week after video emerged of him apparently shooting a teen who was eating in a McDonald's parking lot.
Ugh, he's clearly caring about that teen's health.
Yep, so James Brennan, who was fired from the San Antonio Police Department, is facing 2 counts of aggravated assault. Eric Cantu is on life support and in critical condition following the October 2nd incident. So details. Brennan reported the vehicle he was in was the same one that had evaded him the previous night during an attempted traffic stop, and he suspected it may be stolen. Okay. Body cam footage shows Brennan, who was a rookie officer, opening the door, eating and shooting at the teen shortly afterwards. As the officer approached him, Cantor backed up his car and struck the officer with the open door.
Well, that's not good.
Okay. What they're saying, the San Antonio Police Department said Brennan was fined following a review of the incident, calling his actions in violation of departmental tactics, training, and procedures. Charges of evading detention into vehicles and assault on a police officer were filed against Cantu and have since been dropped. My goodness.
So this is very complex and very. Yeah. There's a lot of moving pieces here.
Well, it's very interesting, and it's not quite the same, but it reminds me of an incident that I saw on the comment section with Brett Cooper in regards to Chicago.
Okay.
And there was a video on that sequence of this cop encountering like a mostly naked woman who was high on something, and she was lying mostly naked on the street.
Okay.
And like just walking through the intersection. And the cop confronts her, tries to arrest her, but because she's mostly naked, he's afraid, and he's white and she's black. And so he's more afraid of the backlash to him mistreating her or assaulting or doing something improper with her, that he essentially, by his inaction or inability to act, she steals his police cruiser and runs him over.
Dang.
Because
Actually,
he's so afraid. Well, like, I'm fairly certain, because he's like trying to stop her without touching her. Because she's naked.
yeah.
Because he's so afraid of getting a sexual harassment claim. I'm like, if you're naked in the street, cops should be allowed to take whatever is necessary steps to arrest you, and you lose the right to any sexual harassment claim. As long as there's actions are being taken in the course of arresting you.
Yeah.
Because he was just no. And I'm like, I get that you're afraid of these things. Because that can ruin your career. But that's not as bad as your police cruiser being stolen, you getting run over by your own car.
Yeah.
And he was
Actually,
like, he's afraid of shooting her. I'm like, you cannot be afraid to raise your weapon against someone who is a minority. I know that the BLM backlash will be bad. But you got to do it. Because
no, I mean, you have to defend yourself because you don't know what to expect. Yeah.
And like, she backed over him and then drove over him again. And I'm like, shoot her! Shoot her!
Yeah, that's what happens when you hesitate in those kind of like, high stakes kind of situations. If you click on the little link there, body cam video, it actually shows you the incident.
Okay.
I checked it. Go to the 1 minute.
I'm
20
Captain
mark.
Alyssa Campos,
The 1 minute mark?
training commander for the San 45 p.m.
1:20.
As the officer attempted to gather information from witnesses, he noticed a vehicle that had evaded him the day before as the officer attempted a stop because the registered license plate did not match the actual vehicle. This vehicle was not the subject of the disturbance call. The officer thought the car may be a stolen vehicle and called for cover. Before cover officers arrived, the officer abruptly opened the driver's door and ordered the driver out of the car.
That's why I said the 1:20 mark because you started really early.
Yeah, I did.
Get out of the car.
He opens the
With
car.
the vehicle door still open, the driver put the vehicle in reverse and attempted to leave. The officer was hit by the open door. The officer then stepped back and opened fire on the vehicle as the driver reversed away from him. The driver shifted the vehicle to drive and then turned away from the officer to leave, and the officer shot several more times at the fleeing vehicle.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
The officer then attempted to run after the vehicle.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
The driver, identified as 17-year-old Eric Cantu, and his passenger, a 17-year-old female, were located a block away at Parliament and Blanco Road. Both.
So, what do you think of that?
Well, like, you have to be able to defend yourself, but
That's unnecessary force.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Like, if he was trying to run the cop down, totally justified.
He was just basically trying to get away, which is different than trying to run you over. And
Yeah.
To be fair, like the cop didn't. Okay, so here's like some observations from that whole situation. One, the cop like literally went up to him and opened the door.
Open the door without doing anything else.
Like, that seems odd.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would think if I'm a cop, I go up to the door, the window, knock on it, and be like, "Hey, I need you to put your window down."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you start talking, right? If you open the door, that seems very aggressive.
Yeah,
like, that seems like I
that's
feel like
very
if
instigating
I'm
an incident.
in a parking lot eating food, and a cop suddenly comes up and like opens my door, I'd be
Yeah.
like, "What the?"
No,
hell?
what I would have done. Okay, what I would have done if I was the cop,
Mhm.
I would have gotten. It was like, that car looks suspicious. Gone up with my cruiser and parked right behind him.
And with the lights on.
Yep. And then as soon as you got up behind him, then turn your lights on.
Yeah.
And of course, call for backup. It's like, this car evaded me the other day. I think it evaded me, and the plates don't match.
Yeah.
So suspect is already like, there's a decent suspicion of this suspect being evasive to police, and we don't want to have what happened last night to happen again.
Yep.
So I just want to cover all my bases before I engage with the suspect.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, like once the guy is far enough away, then he starts shooting because for him it was an emotional reaction. It was like, oh, this guy hurt me, so I have to attack.
Or he's getting away.
He's getting away. I have to stop him from getting away.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
I think the only time you have a defensible rationale for opening fire is when either you're in
Imminent
immediate
danger. Yep.
Or when the person is in imminent danger to others.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, okay, maybe you could somehow make a case that he's in imminent danger when the guy's backing up. I'm like, okay, yes, because he's technically driving back with you and the door open. I'm like, okay, maybe. But at that point, like once he runs away, I'm like, okay, he's no longer in imminent danger.
Yeah.
Now that's or like trying to take him down like some cop in a TV show or something like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, I see why they fired him.
Yep.
Yeah, that is what you should do anytime you hear about these kind of shooting incidents.
You have to evaluate them.
You got to evaluate them and make like some like reasonable inferences. Be like, okay, was that justified? Was that not justified? Same time, like I don't know what the heck that kid was thinking. Like that kid was trying to run away. I'm like, what do you?
It's like
all I can think is he must have like been gotten caught doing something.
Well, like if he's doing that, then it's like, okay, it's fairly likely that this car is stolen.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. Because if that's his immediate reaction, is just like, get out.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, is there a chance? Some particularly black people. I'm not sure what race this kid is.
He sort of looked a little Hispanic.
I mean, I don't know, maybe, but he's definitely not white.
Yeah.
But I know some some communities, they have a natural aversion and fear of police, and so they don't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like, would a person who's totally innocent like immediately
react like that?
I'm like,
nope.
I find it hard to believe that he would, unless he's actually like worried about getting caught.
Yeah.
About something. That usually is a safe bet. So I don't know what the kid did, but I still don't think he deserved the death penalty for it.
No, he didn't deserve the death penalty, and like he should be reimbursed for his injuries.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But he should still be facing charges.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that he'll probably be reimbursed and the charges have been dropped. Mm-hmm. It's just like, okay, the cop acted improperly, but you did too. And you're getting off scot-free for this.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, this is why it's so hard to be a cop, because there's so
many...
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's like instantaneous decisions.
Yeah.
And that's also why, like, cops shouldn't be acting alone. It should be partners.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's just like, dude, no, why are you shooting? Come on, no. And like someone to go back and forth on ideas, because when people are alone and they get scared, then they make exceptionally irrational decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, and there have been like multiple incidents I've heard of. Cop going up to somebody in what seems like to be a very generic thing, and then suddenly gets shot at.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Totally out of nowhere. And it's like you don't know, the cop doesn't know what to expect. So
yep.
It's better to take every precaution. But yeah. That's the story. We should probably move on, because
we do need to move on. We have lots of stories to talk about today. So let's talk about somebody else who made irrational, disgusting decisions.
Yeah.
There we go. So Madonna appears to come out as gay in playful TikTok.
What a shocker.
Yeah. All right. Let's just watch the video because it's stupid. Okay. I think it just plays the video several times.
It's on TikTok, isn't it?
If I miss, I'm gay. Oh.
Throws it.
Oh, well.
Doesn't even try. It's just like,
Yeah.
well, I can't say this for her. I will say this. She definitely throws like a girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Put her spin as on a new viral trend, attempting to throw a pair of bright pink panties into the trash and purposely missing. If I miss, I'm gay.
Mm-hmm.
The Material Girl singer who was rocking a cream-colored rocking page
yeah.
6? No.
Like,
She was just wearing, and it looked awkward because she's old.
yeah, she's like a grandma trying to be like, sexy twin.
Seemed to accept the outcome, staring into the camera while proudly throwing one arm into the air. However, the video has left fans confused, with some questioning whether Madonna was just jumping on the trend for fun or was serious about coming out. What in the 80s is happening? One fan asked. Another adding, did Madonna just come out? Am I witnessing this in real time? A third supportive fan wrote, Madonna is very slay. No, this is really stupid.
Doesn't even look like her. It's
I know
how old she's gotten, and she just
yeah.
It's
like
really
like older. Like that's what Madonna used to look like.
Way back
when, that's what Madonna used to look like. You have fallen far. And then that also happens when you party and drink your many years away.
You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of like, all of these TV that totally retconned a character into like the LGBT, like, clan. Like years and years ago, I used to watch this show called Grey's Anatomy because my friends were.
Yep. Very popular. Very
popular show. And there's one character, like a girl, who every single time she's ever been in a relationship with anybody, always the dudes, and she was always super excited. You didn't get the sense like she was unsatisfied.
Yep.
Everyone that she had, and then suddenly she has one run-in with this one lady, and she's like,
I'm a lesbian.
It's like I'm not just like lesbian, but I am hardcore, never going back to men. I'm like, give me a freaking break. Like,
yeah, same thing, of course, with Rosa. Yep,
Rosa Diaz on
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I hate it when they do that. When they even
it's
did
just
that
shameless attention-seeking pandering.
Yeah, they did that even worse on How I Met Your Mother by implying that Lily had romantic feelings for Robin, and then backwards again. I mean, like,
yeah,
it's just
it was weird.
This is what they're doing this is what Madonna's doing basically. It's like you can just jump on the bandwagon whenever you feel like it.
Well, and of course, like Madonna is old, and I don't think she does concerts anymore, and she's fallen out of the public eye. That's like. And you can look up the previous relationships and engagements that she's had. She's been married several times, all to men. But, oh yes, now she's coming out as lesbian at 64.
Yeah.
You are an attention-seeking...
She basically can't stand being out of the spotlight.
Oh no, she's like, I'm the queen of pop, and I have to be the queen of pop forever.
But it shows how silly the whole concept of like it's basically like a kid who suddenly decides like, oh, I don't like chocolate, I like this. It's like, oh no, he's vanilla.
Yeah, now it's like, oh my gosh, this has to be a big one. Like everybody has to focus on this. No, you don't. Like you're just claiming it for attention, and it's gonna be like, it's a fling. You're gonna have this fling to try and keep the attention on yourself, and then you're gonna be like, maybe I came out too soon, and I'm bi now. And I'm only going to date men because it wasn't a real thing.
Yeah, it's just it's really silly. But the thing is, this is silliness. Like how absurd this whole standard is. There's no standard. It's wide open, and yet they want to like create laws, like really punitive laws that pretend like there's a standard.
Yeah,
it's like it's just really silly. But here's the thing, like Madonna, yeah, we expect that from her because this is Madonna. She's going to be like flamboyant,
and attention-seeking, and entirely narcissistic and self-centered.
Whatever. But who you don't expect it from is an actual priest or like any kind of religious leader. Like is that next person who is even worse than Madonna.
Drag queen preaches children's sermon while pastor twists Roman 12:2 into a pro drag queen verse.
Ugh.
So by now, anyone who believes the United Methodist denomination is not of Satan is foolish at best and quite possibly antichrist. The United Methodist Church has repeatedly and continually dropped the ball, accepting sexual perversion, ordaining homosexuals and women, and preaching a false gospel for decades. While there remains a handful of conservative congregations in this denomination who haven't fully been given over, their continued alliance with this wickedness by their association with the denomination is actual tangible guilt that carries the stark warning of God's judgment.
It's coming.
So Isaac Simmons, the drag queen who goes by the name Miss Pentecost, and who is up for ordination in the United Methodist Church, recently denounced the scriptures as nothing, referred to God as she in a recent poem published on this blasphemous website. Simmons was recently invited to Allendale United Methodist Church to preach a children's sermon, where he and the pastor had young kids come up to the front of the stage to groom them. During the sermon, the pastor explained the verse Romans 12:2, "Do not be conformed," is actually about being a drag queen. So, yeah, the women, actually, and the kids are being masked as they come up front, where the adults are exempt. Yep. All of this is child abuse, and you can watch in horrifying disgust.
Do either of you have any questions for Miss Pentecost?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you like her eyeshadow. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, maybe she'll let you borrow it. When you're older,
like
when you're
this.
allowed to wear makeup. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Well, one of the things I think is great about Miss Pentecost is she reminds us that we follow a God who calls us to not conform to things of this world. That we're supposed to be transformed by the renewal of our minds. And that means that what I think today may have to change tomorrow if I continue to renew my mind. And it's so cool that we serve a God that calls us to continue to grow and continue to change into something new.
To conform.
And to not be bound by the ways that the world confines us sometimes.
Scripture.
That we're supposed to live differently.
Conforming. I.e. conforming. You
Yep.
know, like we were saying before the show, I'm like, I think it's like, if there was ever a good time to bring back the good old fashioned, practice of stoning.
Stoning, now is the time.
Now is the time.
Time to get stoned, but in a good way.
And, yeah, this is what they used to do in the Old Testament. Anybody who would be preaching or speaking in any way that is blatantly and outlandishly against God's word, they would instruct to take this person outside of the city
and stone
outside of the town and stone them to death. That was they got the death penalty. Why? Because they're encouraging sedition and encouraging people to completely defy God, so that God's wrath doesn't come on down. Now the problem here is that this guy is speaking to little girls they don't know any better. They have no way of knowing that he's lying to them. They have they have no defense. And then worse than that is that he is actually encouraging them,
to emulate such behavior.
Emulate such crazy behavior. If there's any place that this stuff should not be allowed, it's in the church.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that guy in the drag outfit, you know what he would be called in the Old Testament, Stephen? I don't know if you actually know the term. There's a term for people like him. And very few people know it. I know it because I've studied it. Can I tell you?
Yeah, I've probably heard it. I probably heard the word.
Okay. It's a term called the Kedoshim.
Nope, I have not heard that.
Kedoshim is a term for basically male cultic prostitutes. And these are people who used to have like cultic prostitutes, like women, but they would also have male cultic prostitutes in all these sex shrines. And they would be basically men who would dress like women in order to basically offer themselves up as for sexual sacrifices and all. And they were spoken of even more harshly by God than even the female sex prostitutes, because what incredible abomination they were being by presenting themselves like that. So the Bible actually speaks about people like that, like cross-dressers. And it does not speak of them in any favorable. In some places, they're actually referred to as dogs, like a derogatory term, trying to basically point out how
much God detests such behavior.
God detests such behavior, not people, but behavior. Because, I always say to people, there's no people. People are not sin. Sin is not a noun; it's a verb. It's what you do. And these people, both the man dressed in drag and the pastor, who's encouraging people to accept and affirm and twisting scripture to
Twisting.
his
Oh
forked
my
tongue,
gosh.
his forked tongue. He's basically like like an agent of the devil.
Mhm.
Both of them are guilty of like some incredibly heinous sins. That pastor is probably going to get that. Like it would have been better if he gets a gigantic rock
Mhm.
tied around his neck and he's
Thrown
thrown
into the
water.
ocean.
That's actually what the Bible says.
Yep.
Anybody who
Deceives and encourages the harm to children.
Yeah.
It's better with a millstone. All right, Danny. Go on a road
Hey.
trip with a millstone.
Go on a road trip with millstone?
Go on a road trip with a millstone. You're going to find this guy.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we got something.
We got something for you. Oh, look, it's a cliff. Here's a millstone.
Hey,
Whoops.
we're gonna take a nice friendly drive down to the river.
You were living in sin.
The Lord does not approve.
Pray for
Yeah,
forgiveness
it's,
before the end.
Which will be 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2. Oh, it's
Oh, you're gone. No, you're gone.
Look. It's
Yeah, no,
over.
like hearing this person talk about how Romans 12:2 is misinterpreted.
Oh,
Like the
geez.
entire verse about Romans 12:2 is the opposite of that.
Do not be conformed.
Because Romans 12:2, like you look at the drag queen, you look at the person who is hypersexualizing kids, who is destroying the body that God gave to them and is manipulating it for sexually perverted purposes.
Yeah.
And okay, you're like, well, that's the way of the world. I'm not going to conform to that. I'm going to read scripture. I'm going to meditate daily on it. And I'm going to renew my mind daily so that I can focus on how to keep myself, my family, my children, and those around me from that conformity. And I'm going to openly speak out against it because I know what is true. And I know how to defend my faith, and I know how to defend against such heinous, evil things as that. And yeah, there's nothing else. There's nothing good that can come out of this. This is pure diabolical evil.
Yeah, the big thing is that you know how like child molesters, like people who rape children, when they're by far the most hated people. Even prisons, even prisoners, when they get into prisons, they are the most at risk.
There's a reason that Jeffrey Dahmer was killed in prison.
He was, because they're like incredibly hated. But these men, both the drag queen and the
Priest,
pastor, the priest, or whatever, they're both grooming children, grooming them into accepting and applauding a lifestyle that if either one of those girls was like, remember their ultimate goal, they would be so happy if this happened. They would be cheering them on if this happened. If those girls and whoever are surround them, but like probably the parents, because let's face it, they're not going to that church because they're there for a spiritual experience. They're going because their parents are big woke enthusiasts. If those girls decide
the best outcome to that video. The best outcome to that video. Okay, continuing. Like you finish, and then I'll go. Yeah. Sorry.
If those girls decide to be transgender, they're in for a horrifying experience, and they're only going to find out that they were betrayed by the people that they trusted years later. That is what they're doing right now. It's brutal. Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, no, like the best outcome would be the parents running up to the stage, grabbing their kids, smacking the pastor, and calling him a heretical serpent, and that he is cursed by God, or something like that. But the parents just stood there. They sat in the pew, sat in the chair, and be like, oh yes, this is just wondrous. As evil as the drag queen and the priest are, the parents who allowed this to happen are equally at fault. And they are not excluded from this. So, everyone's getting condemned. I rebuke thee.
Rebuke them all, Steven.
Ready, Danny? The power of Christ compels you.
That's like their heads spin, like.
Yeah. All right, but that does not end the insanity against children and the insanity of the LGBTQ stuff this week. So, Planned Parenthood cartoon touts puberty blockers for children, Puberty blockers are safe, and we can give you more time to figure out what feels right for you, your body, and your gender identity.
Nope.
Not content with staying in its lane with as abortion champions, Planned Parenthood has produced a cartoon aimed at children promoting the virtues of puberty-blocking pharmaceutical drugs. Yes, really. Video shared on Twitter by Inside the Classroom, a conservative group that was previously focused on exposing efforts to indoctrinate school children with critical race theory. So, let's watch and scream out in horror.
There's no one-size-fits-all puberty experience. If you're trans, intersex, or non-binary, know that you're not the only one feeling confused. For some intersex people, puberty may start later than age 14. You might experience some of puberty's changes and not others, and your body may or may not go through puberty on its own. There are medicines you can take to help your body start the process, like hormone replacement therapy. Some people decide on hormones or surgeries to help their bodies match up to their gender identity, or how they feel inside about themselves. Your gender identity is real.
Nope.
You should be the one to decide what changes you want to make to your body.
Nope.
If you're transgender or non-binary, you may find that your puberty experiences don't line up with your gender identity, or how you see yourself. That feeling can be uncomfortable, scary, and stressful. If that sounds like you, know that you're not alone. There are medicines you can take to delay puberty for a while. They're called puberty blockers, and they work like a stop sign by halting the hormones testosterone and estrogen that cause puberty changes like facial hair growth and periods. Puberty blockers are safe, and can give you more time to figure out what feels right for you, your body, and your gender identity. You don't have to have all of the answers right now. So remember, it's all a work in progress, and it may take time to figure out what feels right to you, but talking to a trusted adult and a nurse or doctor may help.
Not if they're
Want to learn
Planned
more?
Parenthood.
Go to Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
Well, talking about like abortion mills and Planned Parenthood. Like, did you hear this story about what was that? She's part of the squad.
AOC?
No, she's
Hannah
one of the
Moore?
no, she's one of the lesser.
Rashida
Not
Tlaib?
Rashida Tlaib, like the other one.
Well, it's like those are the ones I know.
Okay, I'll look up the last member, but
Mhm.
literally she told this story about like in the process of having an abortion, like it was a little bit later term, so they had to sedate her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's telling the nurse, she's like, no, I don't think I want to go through this. And they're just like, oh, relax, you'll be fine. She's like, I don't want to go through this, and be like starting to sedate her. And then she's like, I don't want to go through this, and they already like put in the suction.
Yeah.
And she's like, I
they need
still
their money.
support freedom of choice. And it's like, no, like you are literally saying that if this is true, and I do not doubt that it is true, because this happens all the time, because these organizations are money grubbing bastards.
Yeah.
Because they care more about the profit that can be made than the suffering and the death that they commit against young babies, of course, and young, quote, vulnerable women. They're not all vulnerable, but a lot are.
Yeah. I guess consent goes out the window when
When money
So
is at stake, consent
Yeah.
does not matter to Planned Parenthood.
Not at all. There's while you're looking that up, there's a lot of lies that they're putting in there. So let me just go through them very quick. So number one lie they were saying is that puberty can be paused. That is a complete lie, and that's actually the biggest lie to tell both kids and adults. If there's no such thing as pausing puberty, it is a natural process that will start by itself. If you use these puberty blocking hormones, you cannot just restart it later. Your body has moved on, and it no longer has the ability to restart the process. So if you pause the process, you're not going to be able to get back onto it. That's one of the biggest lies they tell you. Secondly, the fact that they say that these things are super safe is a complete nonsensical thing, because there are no long-term studies on the health effects of these hormone treatments on young children, because they never this has never happened before in human history, using these kind of drugs on children, and so they don't know what happens. We're already getting some horrible horror stories, like incredibly horrible horror stories about the actual impacts. If a girl takes testosterone, her chances of getting some lifelong, like cancers and all sorts of long-term health effects her bone density goes down, her chances of getting into menopause go up. Like it's insane. This is like
Mhm.
medical experimentation on top
Yep.
of that, right?
Mhm.
So it's brutal. And then the worst part here, they say only you can decide. This is the self-diagnosis that is. I feel this is like malpractice that you should not be able to self-diagnose yourself. And any medical professional out there who you
Mhm.
go talk to is just going to rubber stamp you. They are literally going to be like, "Yep, all good, off you go." There's no, we don't say no. There's no to us.
Yep. There's no.
Um, yeah, actually, I'm actually really sad that doctors used to be one of the most trusted
Oh yeah.
professions, and now it's not. Like they're now doctors are now committing they're now killing people. Like
Mhm.
euthanasia was made here in Canada.
And of course,
Doc,
like the past year has shown that doctors are easily paid off or silenced into submission and consent with an oppressive and dangerous regime.
yeah, and doctors, and this has been true for years now, for decades. Doctors here, particularly in Canada, I know the states is just as too. Doctors will pretty much only give you drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors will not prescribe you like natural remedies. They won't prescribe you. There's a whole bunch of things that they're not allowed to give you, or even suggest for you. Even my own doctor, like the one I saw here, I asked him like, if I could get an X-ray, and I was like, oh, can we? Is it possible they could send those X-ray results to my chiropractor? He's like, no. I'm like, well, why not? It's like, well, because we're yeah, like he gave me something about how chiropractors legitimate practices, and I'm like, I don't give a crap. Like
Just
those are my
like
X-rays.
I want to achieve better health. I want to try and get over these issues that I'm facing. And whether
Yeah.
or not you believe chiropractic works doesn't matter. I am the patient and I get
Yes.
to decide what treatment I'm using.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like
He'd rather get some kind of drug.
there
I
are
guess.
times in which it's just like, okay, well, if things are really bad, then the doctor is like, okay, well, you're probably not in a mental state.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was one time, and I probably should not have done this, but I was just like, man, like you are not acting out of your best interest.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had an accident, and she came in for massage, and I'm like, man, like you can't turn your head because your muscles around your neck are that tight.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was her range of motion. It was like,
Oh wow.
and I'm like, you need like deep tissue in your neck.
Yeah.
Because you can't get by with that kind of range of motion. Like it's not safe to drive a car. I'm like, you drove here. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, it's not safe to drive a car if you can't do that. And so like, I was like, I'm kind of going to ignore it. Because I'm just going to like, it's unsafe for other people if you're driving like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave her like, she could do this by the end. And I'm like, okay, it's not full, but it's better. And then she complained that it wasn't what she wanted. I'm like, ma'am, like you're a hazard.
Yeah. That's bad.
But it's like, I get it. Like doctors have this superiority complex. It's not just about like people being a hazard to others, but they're deeming, or the institutions are deeming that, oh, if you don't take this medication, if you don't take this drug, if you don't take this injection, then you are unsafe to others. They're like, okay, we'll just go along with that. If you don't take these hormone blockers, then like you could kill yourself. It's like, but they're a kid. It's confusion about your identity is pretty normal as a child because you're still growing up, you're still experiencing life. They're like, nope, you have to be 100% certain, and we can tell you what you should be certain of.
Yeah, you know how you know that this entire thing is incredibly insidious because of the incredible emphasis they put on secrecy. Parents.
Mm-hmm.
If it was legitimate and on the they'd be involving parents.
Yeah.
But the fact that they intentionally are trying to keep parents in the dark and without parents shows you that there's some very
Nefarious purposes going on.
serious things going on here. That's why, man, doctors are legitimately losing the trust that people.
Yep. And justifiably so.
Justifiably so.
Someone who is
But-
not losing trust.
That's
Kanye.
gaining a little bit of trust. Yeah.
Which
Good
I would
figure.
like if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd be like, Kanye is going to be a hero of conservatism. And I'm like, no way. No.
Yeah.
But generally, that's true. Kanye West defends pro-life stance and slams media for trying to kill us. It's a genocide for the black race. Following a whirlwind week of...
He's been talking to Ken Owens.
Oh, I know. Following a week of backlash for wearing a White Lives Matter shirt at his Yeezy fashion show, Kanye sat down for an exclusive interview with Tucker Carlson, wearing a shirt of an ultrasound emblazoned around his neck to show his stance on anti-abortion. It's a photograph of a baby's ultrasound, explained the rapper. It just represents life. I'm pro-life. So let's just watch it because it's great. I love this interview.
Photograph of a baby's ultrasound.
Why is that? And that you designed that?
Yes.
Why? What does that mean?
It just represents life. I'm pro-life.
Kanye West sat down.
Shut up. Where's the rest of the interview?
It's not the interview, is it?
Of an ultrasound emblazoned around his neck to show his stance on anti-abortion, following a rural.
Or more black babies being aborted than born in New York City at this point. That 50% of black death in America is abortion. So I really don't care about people's response to that. I perform for an audience of one, and that's God.
Later in the
Amen, Kanye.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, like so many people could learn from Kanye, which is so surprising to say, but dang, like, dude, you are bold, and everything you're saying is just like, yeah, that's 100% true. We should be performing for an audience of one, and it doesn't matter what other people think. We've never really cared here at the Shrewd Dudes podcast, because we say pretty out there things, and that gets left pretty pissed. But we do it because it's the truth. And the truth matters more than hypersensitive feelings.
I think that the big reason why people matter at Kanye West than like someone like Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or
Is because they used to have him.
well, because they expect these people to be, you know, pro-life conservatives, right? But Kanye West has a massive influence and a massive following, and so he can basically reach a lot more people than a lot of these, like, you know, like regular conservative commentators can't, right?
Yep.
And that's why the left can't stand him, because he's basically bucking the narrative that black people are all Democrat and they're all like woke and they're all pro, you know, Democrat ideals and all that.
Yep.
Now, that being said, you have to remember that Kanye West he's not like a full-fledged conservative. He's all over the place. He's kind of like, you know, Joe Rogan or like Tim Pool or a lot of other people who basically their views kind of
Overlap in certain areas.
in certain areas. Even Candace Owens didn't used to be
Yep.
pro-life until, like, you know, somewhat recently.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take their opinions and be like, approve of what is good. Like, you know, what he said is good, but also remember that he's not going to be a complete and total stalwart advocate for all of our views. So you just got to be like, what he said here is good.
Well, just like take everything to heart and evaluate each statement. Just like when we were talking about Tulsi. It's like what she said, everything that she said was worth defending. But not everything Tulsi says is worth defending. And that's the case with almost every individual. Even if you're the biggest fan of said individuals, they're going to say things you disagree with, and you shouldn't be, okay, I'm going to trust everything that they say completely. Like, one of my favorite individuals, we all know, I love Matt Walsh. I think his stance on aliens is stupid. I'm just like, Matt, that's dumb. That's super dumb. But I still like him.
You gotta believe, Stephen. You must believe.
I will never believe. We're not in the Twilight Zone. We're in rational facts.
But there's also Ben Shapiro. Speaking of that.
Oh yeah, like I like a lot of things.
On vaccines was pretty bad.
Was pretty bad. He's coming down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, yeah, like we can't deny that there was a link to myocarditis, and it's like, yeah, there you go, Ben. You're coming around. You're coming around. You're stop being stupid.
One day he'll join us.
One day he'll be like, yeah, the vaccine was a mistake. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of people who like to shill, let's talk about Marvel and what they're doing over there.
Because they are still shilling. Marvel shills for Pfizer with COVID vaccine, Avengers, PSA, comic book. Everyday heroes take the vaccines and all the boosters. Marvel has come under criticism for producing a paid-for comic book to promote Pfizer's mRNA COVID vaccines. They feature the Avengers, comparing them to everyday heroes who fight to protect their community by dutifully taking Pfizer vaccines and campaigning for others to do the same. Today, Pfizer and BioNTech announced our new collaboration with Marvel Comics. The post continues. Together, we created a custom comic book featuring the Avengers who fight to protect their community. We hope that people around the world enjoy reading the comic book. At Pfizer, we encourage people to come together to help protect themselves by staying up to date with COVID-19 vaccinations.
That's the worst way to protect yourself and others.
Which is available online. One page states you're among everyday heroes every day. The construction worker, the florist, the painter, everyday heroes are everywhere. What makes them everyday heroes? In the comic, asks before explaining how they all take the vaccines. We all need to do our part. So vaccinate, stay up to date, and take the latest recommended booster and be an everyday hero. My goodness.
You know, it's really funny. Do you remember, like, during World War II, Disney made a whole bunch of propaganda using Donald Duck, using Goofy, using all sorts of, like, different ones. You should see them. Some of them are really dark.
Can I read this comic?
I guess. I'm not sure. But, like, they basically... They basically
oh yes, I can.
Created. I can't read it. They created an actual, like, you know, they use regular, like, you know, cartoon or comic book characters to try to convince people to join the war effort or to demonize the other side. This screams of government propaganda. Like, it just completely screams of it. Everything about it. It's like, you can be a hero too. Like, during the war effort in World War II, one of the things that people were told is, like, you know, make sure not to hoard. Make sure that you you donate, like, you know, metal or all sorts of things for the war effort, like things like that, right? And this is the most blatant example yet of propaganda that's bought by an evil company here. Like, this is like, Pfizer is an evil company. Like, let's just put it out there. It's evil. They're guilty of the worst, like, you know, penalty, I think it was, for, like, any, like, you know, medical manufacturer in history. That we've gone over, like, the countless amounts of dishonest and, like, downright, like, almost criminal misdeeds that they did in all their testing and all their safety tests that they did. It's crazy. Like, you know, like the idea that they're allowed to do this kind of stuff. This is like big tobacco putting out a PSA saying, like, hey, everyone needs to, like, smoke up. You know, come on, little Sally, you can smoke up too for the good of your community. That's pretty much what this sounds like.
Yeah. It's like,
are you liking the comic, Steven?
It's horrifying. It's just like, eventually they're all like, we're ready for you. The Avengers are doing their part to help us keep us safe. Now it's time for us to do ours.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has more everyday heroes don't wear capes. They're all vaccinated.
Yeah, you know, it's really funny. Do you know what a hero is?
What, like the definition of hero, or?
Well, like, just give me a basic definition of.
Well, a hero is someone who does what is best for others, even at great personal cost.
You know, especially at great personal cost. The hero is somebody who puts themselves at great risk. You know, like, you know, for the good of others, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, here, this is not great risk.
No.
This is just like, you can be, if you're compliant, you do what you're told, you're a hero.
Yeah.
This is like this is the way the left operates. You know, like, how can you be a hero? Like, you know, like demagogues that are out there, you can be an ally. That makes you a hero. An ally is literally the person who lays down and says everything you do is great. That's a hero to them. What's a hero for like the abortion thing? People who agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hero. That's not heroic. That's actually like that basically it's self-promoting, it's self-beneficial. It benefits you. You get the accolades without the risk.
Yeah.
So it's the worst kind of stuff. They basically are lying to people, telling them giving them this false sense of oh, I'm a hero.
False sense of pride and accomplishment. It's like, nope, you complied with tyranny.
Yeah.
You are a willing participant in evil.
You're
Good for you.
like, being patted on the back for being a hero for being a sheep.
Yep.
Come on,
Go take your 7th booster.
Hail Pfizer. Hail Pfizer.
Hail Pfizer. Well, unfortunately, hailing Pfizer caused some disastrous side effects. The lockdown effect. Record numbers of children are being hospitalized with cold after their immunity was weakened by social distancing and mask. CDC report reveals. Record number of tests on inpatients under 18 picked up on a common virus in August last year. The level was comparable only to December in previous years when it also crossed the 50% mark. Scientists warned the sharp rise was likely due to lockdowns weakening immunity amongst children. Who knew?
No. I mean, obviously they're gonna blame it on.
Well, because they were saying it was
because they don't want to blame it on the one thing that they should.
Yes, didn't they say it was all, like mainly due to toddlers? Yeah, all emergency department visits for toddlers, 4.7% were for breathing difficulties.
Yeah,
most toddlers are not vaccinated.
No, but they get them from masks.
Yes, so it's a combination. It's a combination of weakened immunity from the vaccine, and because masks and social distancing and other COVID measures reduced immunity, because if you don't have access and you're not in an area where you're going to be exposed to lessened versions of viruses, then you might get the more severe version.
Yeah.
And your immune system won't be ready and you won't be able to fight it off. Because part of what keeps your immune system strong is fighting off viruses and other pathogens. That's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
Your immune system will be weak if you live in a bubble. Then any virus will kill you. That's why, unfortunately, as annoying as it is, being sick is good for your health in the long run. And the way that we've treated sickness in the past 2 years is, we have to avoid sickness at any cost. And that is going to have long-term consequences, not just for children, but for everyone.
Yeah, they talked a lot. I can't tell you how many things I've heard in the last 2 years to talk about this kind of stuff. Like, the treatment, the Pfizer treatment, they knew that it was going to decimate people's immune system. So that's like we've got to brace for that because that's coming. Secondly, we knew that lockdowns have massive impact, both the mental health and the physical health of people, because like so many surgeries were delayed, so many diagnoses, so many things. So a lot of people are going to get a lot of stuff. Masks have downsides, and so I am not shocked at all by the amount of illnesses, like breathing illnesses and things that kids are going to get. And then finally, on top of everything, is that we're apart from colds, we're going to get an epidemic of cancer treatments. Because one of the big side effects of the treatment is your ability to fight off aggressive cancers. Almost dies off. Because they target one of your most crucial what do you call it, an or like white blood cell, that a T4 cell that you use. The numbers drop almost entirely after the COVID treatment, and as a result, things that normally your body can fight off, send these killer T cells throughout your body to find. Those T cells are not there, so those cancers that normally tracked down and killed before they had a chance to become problematic are exploding. I remember hearing doctors talk about that. So like it's going to be a massive amounts of deaths. And of course they're gonna blame it on, like SADS, or they're gonna blame it on some other
some other issue. Well, like what they were blaming the SADS was sudden adult death syndrome.
That's right.
And it's like that's on the rise for some unknown reason. And it's on the rise, not just a little bit, but substantially.
Yep.
And deaths are up by 40% in the under 50 community. Yes. No, you're still not going to say it was results? Like Michael Knowles was talking about this earlier, and he was talking with one of his lefty friends. And like this was a few months ago. She's like, yeah, like my father died just like a couple weeks after getting the shot. And he's like, oh. Like, good, you're kind of coming around and admitting these shots are dangerous. No, it was long COVID.
From COVID,
and he's like, what?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
That's what she was told.
Yep. Just going along to get along, and never going against the agenda or the narrative. It's truly, truly sad. And eventually that leads you with lots of leftover devices, lots of leftover problems. So the majority of ventilators bought by Trudeau are still sitting unused. So under the leadership of Health Minister Patty Hajdu, Canada's Department of Health purchased over $1 billion worth of ventilators to help those suffering from respiratory problems. Government has since admitted that they may have overestimated the amount needed and have moved the vast majority to a warehouse. According to Public Services and Procurement, of the 40,000 ventilators ordered by the Trudeau Liberals, 27,000 have been delivered as of April 2022. Remaining units were placed in the National Emergency Strategic Stockpile. With the pandemic dwindling, the government has moved to cancel the portions of the orders that have not yet been fulfilled. Since the spring of 2020, evidence and public health guidance has evolved. Current modeling indicates that Canada has more than enough ventilators to meet Canada's current and projected needs. As a result, the government is working with Canadian suppliers to identify opportunities to reduce the volumes ordered and support them as these contracts wind down.
So basically, Canada was at the very beginning of the pandemic, Canada was way behind. They were behind in vaccines, they were behind in ventilators, they were behind in masks, they were behind on everything. And so, what does our illustrious, former drama teacher decide to do? He's like, let's throw money at the problem, and just throw a crap ton of money at ventilators.
Well, and of course, one of the firms is owned by a former Liberal MP, Frank Baylis, received a $237 million contract that they had to pay in advance.
Of course. Yeah, and the problem here is that when we discovered this within the first year of is that ventilators were not actually helping.
Nope.
They were actually making things worse.
Worse. You had a lower chance of survival on a ventilator.
Yes, they did. Because the ventilator was not actually solving the problem.
Nope.
It was only exacerbating it. So just add that to the
add that to the list of problems that the lockdowns and all these things caused.
Or liberal government and their idiocy.
Curse you. Yeah. But thankfully,
there is hope on the horizon.
There is hope. It's not all bad. Danielle Smith makes one of her first decisions, and it's a good one. Danielle.
Second one.
It's the second one? What's the first one?
Yeah, second one. Todd Lewin. That she put him as Deputy Prime Minister.
Really?
That was the first thing that she did in her big speech.
Dang, Danielle!
I thought you heard about that one.
No, I didn't. That was the Danielle Smith.
She announced
you are. That went up. She went up 5 points in my book.
Yeah, I was really happy when she did that.
Oh yeah. So asked by Premier Danielle Smith demotes Chief Medical Officer of Health Hinshaw. Asked by a reporter if she'll keep Hinshaw as her Chief Public Health Advisor, Smith said, "No, I will get new advice on public health." The announcement that the Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dina Hinshaw, would be in a reduced role came during Smith's first official press conference as a premier Tuesday afternoon. Asked by a reporter if she'll keep Hinshaw, she said no. I will get new advice on public health. Here we go.
What about Dr. Dina Hinshaw? Do you see retaining her as your primary public health advisor, and why or why not?
No, I will get new advice on public health.
Very
I appreciate
straightforward.
the work that Dr. D.
Oh my god. No, I will get new advice.
No.
Oh my gosh. That was great. She noted she will not return to lockdowns or restrictions this year, indicating she will seek advice from a panel of yet to be announced experts. It's been an extraordinary time in the last year in particular, and we want people to know that I find that unacceptable, and we're not going to create a segregated society on the basis of medical choice. Smith, 5 more points.
This is what she's been saying for a while, which is one of the reasons why I really is because I heard her on the Andrew Loudon show. I heard her on some other talking about the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And while she wasn't like 100% like Ron DeSantis like level of
Still way better than Kenny.
Way better than Kenny. Like,
and by far, best choice of options in the country.
I think so.
Yep. So, moving in the right direction, Danielle. Like, if you keep chugging like this, then you're going to get reelected.
Well, and here's the thing with Danielle Smith. She was getting enormous amounts of demonization by the media and by
they hated her
candidates. And I'm like, well, if the media hate her, that means I like her.
It means I like her.
Yeah, it's like, don't rely on the media to be like honest. Like, not at all.
Definitely not.
Always do the opposite of what the mainstream.
I'll probably actually ask some. Now that Danielle Smith is officially the premier, I know. Well, I'm Facebook friends with her campaign manager.
Okay.
So I might be like, "Hey, what was it like under a new current premier? How did that go?"
You know what I'm curious about is I heard some news as well that Jason Kenney, even though he's gone now, that he refused to talk to Danielle Smith. Like he was being super petty. And I was like,
doesn't
wow,
surprise me.
Kenny. Even on the way out.
Even on the way out, being super petty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, Danielle Smith, fighting the good fight so far. Like, I do know there were some people who were like, oh, like, Kenny was bitter about pro-life stuff and, like, in doing nothing. And I'm like, it's literally, Kenny did nothing. He just didn't say anything. I'm like, okay, well, I know Smith isn't pro-life, but she's not opposed to MPPs being pro-life. And so, she wouldn't act against it if it was proposed. At least I don't think she would. So far, she's looking good. We went in on Thursday and we're like, yep, we don't know what she's going to do. We don't know what she's going to say. She's a bit of a questionable, like, had some questionable moments. She did like Trump. This is a bit of a wild card. And so far, making all the right decisions, taking all the right steps, getting our support. And yeah, comes down to it. I'll put up a Danielle Smith sign. Not going to put up a Josephine Pond sign. My MPP was just like, I questioned her. I was like, okay, like, how are you justifying the lockdowns on Canadians, on Albertans? Like you said, the Alberta government said they wouldn't do this. One comment and she blocked me. And I'm like, yeah, not putting up a sign for you.
Well, I thought I heard, like, you're talking about Rempel. Michelle Rempel?
No. MPP.
MPP. What's MPP?
Member of Provincial Parliament.
That's MLA.
It's both.
Oh, is it really? Okay, I just always.
It can be both. MLA is usually how it's referred because it's member of the legislature of Alberta. Yeah. But colloquially across the country, they're called MPPs.
Oh, okay. But I know that Michelle Rempel news recently.
Oh yeah, her like anti-woke thing, which was just like, you're a liar.
Well, it's partly because I think that there's, am I wrong, or like there's somebody challenging her?
Not really.
Her place? Okay. That's what I heard.
Unfortunately, I hate it, but she's definitely still like the safest candidate in the country.
She's in a very safe district for sure.
Yes. She's in a very safe district. And because she's fiscally conservative, they're just like, well, she supports oil and that's enough. And I'm like, it's not enough.
Not at all.
So,
yeah. The only other thing that we'll have to watch for is where Danielle's run to get her seat.
yes, that is true.
We're not really sure where that's going to happen, so we'll see.
Yep, still got a few months before the election, but so far, things are looking pretty good. And of course, anybody but Notley, because Notley will destroy the province. I was listening to the Pro-Life Guys podcast this morning, and Cameron was just like, we pray to the Lord that we never suffer 4 years of the NDP again. I'm like, yeah, that's true.
That's very true.
Very true.
They're just terrible.
Just terrible. So,
That's right.
With that being said, we want to avoid being terrible, which is why you should follow us on our video platforms such as YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and YouTube.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Let us know how we're doing and how much you love us. If you're following us on our text platforms such as Facebook, Gitter, Twitter, and Parler, and hopefully Twitter will sometime soon be owned by Elon, then like, share, follow, echo, all of the above for every different platform, because it's different for all those different platforms and it's hard to keep track of when you have like 10 different platforms. So if you're on those platforms, you know what to do. And do it. Get to it. Come on. Go.
Do it.
What are you still doing? Come on. And Rumble, figure out your crap. Because the liking thing is still happening. I have a video with 1 view that has 20 likes. How does that happen? How? I don't get it.
They're messing with you, man.
I'm like writhing and why? But anyways, with that in mind, here at the Shrewd Dudes podcast, we like to remind you, why be rude when you can be shrewd? We will see you on Thursday for our weekly live stream. Until then, as always, God bless.
Good night, everybody.